I'm going to give it about one more minute to go, but attendance is out. All right, well, welcome. It's December, and the semester's a little over less than 2 weeks away from being complete. I can't believe it. I'm also really excited because I feel like this semester, even though everything's been, back to normal, has been probably the most stressful I felt and burnt out since before the pandemic. So I'm sharing, not so you feel bad for me, but I'll take, all the sympathy you want to hand me. But just to, if anyone else out there is feeling like that, it's totally normal. I feel like I've been constantly trying to catch up. I feel like I've been not as responsive as I wanted to be, even though I am. So I've constantly had this feeling every morning, like making sure, did I get back to all my students? Did I grade all the things? Did I turn them back to the students? Did I leave them at home? Oh my goodness, I hope I didn't, even though I didn't. And I just kind of had that kind of creeping in for me all semester. So I'm looking forward to the break. I hope you are as well, and just bring a little bit of normalcy to all the things that we all feel, especially towards the end of the semester as we try to wrap things up before our students leave for break, before winter intersession starts, because we all know our students need to know their outcomes for this semester, because that impacts their winter intercession, and then of course impacts if they transfer and graduation and all those things, all those end of the semester details that are going to be looming over the next 10 days. So I just want you to know I see you and I feel you, and I'm right there with you. With that, it's the end of the semester, but I want to take a minute just to acknowledge some of the things we all celebrate. We have Hanukkah, solstice, Kwanzaa, Christmas, and any other non-denominational celebrations that come up. And of course, New Year's as we move into the new year of 2023. One final thing for me, grades are due on the 30th. It's a Friday, so I feel like that they gave us a little bit of a break with that. I always feel like I have to do them by the 27th. So having it the 30th gives a little bit of breathing room there, so I always like to make sure I put that out there because I put it on my calendar today, and I had a little bit of a sense of relief. I'm like, I have a little bit more extra time than I thought I did. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sagai, our officer in charge.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I, too, want to echo what Colleen said in terms of this being the end of the semester. I want to thank everyone for being very supportive. You don't know how many emails, all the emails I'm reading. Really, a lot of them are supporting me and the college. So I really want to thank everyone for that encouragement to make sure that we're focused. And the focus is, again, like I said before, it's about our students, right? The student first. We will work on really working with our marketing to make sure that is a focus for us in January. One of the things I think is worth doing for us to consider is to highlight some of the things that our students are doing, and a lot of students are doing great things. So we will be reaching out to you to identify some students that we would like to highlight, perhaps to invite them here to talk about their experience and their success, or you could be the person to really acknowledge them, obviously with their permission. So we will continue to do that. The other thing I think we need to focus on as well is our faculty and staff. Also to acknowledge and support some of the works that our faculty and staff are doing both at our college as well as in the community, and to find a way to highlight that. I think sometimes we're so busy doing really important work, but we have to remind ourselves that we are doing some good work, and we have to take the time to recognize our students, but to also recognize the work that we are doing. And so sometimes I think taking a moment to do that is equally important. So we'll be doing that as well for the January start. So the other thing that I wanted to bring to the Senate's attention and really to the college community, as you know, we've been working on the Workday and Banner initiative. What we decided as a college at this point is that we're going to put that on hold. By that I mean is that we are going to get more information to make sure that whatever decision we make as a college, it makes sense for our students, it makes sense for our college, it makes sense for our financial stability, as well as the human resource that we have at the college and the investment that we're making. So we really want to be thoughtful about that project. As you know, that's a very important project for the college. So that is being on hold. What that means also is that we may reach out to you for some feedback to make sure that we get everyone's voice in that project. So more to come on that. And then the last thing I want to talk about, I know Erica is probably going to talk to it a little bit more, is really this idea of retention being a new enrollment, right? Colleen mentioned our students went through a lot, right? Still COVID, still with community issues that happen outside here, one of them being the TOPS incident, as we all know. It's a very difficult time for our students, but they are resilient. They've been coming to our college and our classes. So how do we continue to retain them? What does that mean? How do we encourage that they have to balance? Sometimes it's not an option for students, right? They think the first thing is maybe leave or not attend their courses, but how do we talk with them and ensure that that part of it is balancing life, right? That is something that they are dealing with. But for us, we want to make sure that our students are registered before they leave. Right? That is equally important for them in order to come back for the January semester, that they do that work before they leave. So anything that you could do, especially at the last week of the semester, to encourage the students to register, that would be very important for us to keep them on track. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Sagai? All right, I'm going to turn it over to our governance committee with Michael Rio. We have a potential bylaw change that we discussed at the last meeting.
So we are bringing this to a vote today and discussion for a bylaws change to expand the category of administrative senators to include department chairs, academic department chairs, as well as AAECC positions. And we can take questions, discussion, comments, and before we move to a vote. This was introduced at the last Senate meeting.
Okay, so I have the red line version up at the top, so you can see that C has changed, well, to just eliminate number one shall be elected from department heads. And then that is addressed in a new Part D that defines a department head that includes department heads from AAECC, as well as department chairs from FFECC, and then nothing else changes from elected, senators in general.
And this is a seat that's been vacant, and the rationale behind this change is to be more inclusive and get more bodies in the Senate. Okay. Are
there any questions for Michael? All right, at this time, I'd like to take a motion to approve this bylaw change. Tom Webb, second. Michael Higgins. Any questions or comments? Any objections? Okay, this motion passes by consent. Thank you. Still on you.
Okay, so we're introducing another bylaws change. The 30-day wait period will mean we won't have an opportunity to vote on this until our February meeting. And governance has been reviewing the election process. We have been using paper ballots since 2015 and have had quite a bit of success with electronic voting during COVID, and would like to move all elections to an electronic ballot. Elections have been taking place on College Day, so we'd still like to have that be a day that's an event for an election, but would like to collect our votes through electronic ballot instead of, in ballot boxes and physically counting those votes. And we'll have discussion next Senate meeting on that. Thank you.
Okay, you can see the proposal on the screen. We have the redlined version. So it deletes the fact that it would be at a polling location. That also deletes absentee ballots, because if you're not at College Day, you can still vote electronically, so that's why that is gone. It also eliminates elections involving part-time teaching and part-time non-teaching to be done before College Day. So again, that is, we don't have to worry about that type of deadline because it's all electronic and it'll go to everybody's inboxes. And then it just changed the election results that it will be announced here on the floor versus a college events newsletter, which we really don't have those anymore. And then just replaces for our at-large from secret to electronic, and that they'll be announced. Does anybody have any questions or things you'd like to add? Kathy?
I just had a question about the secret electronic ballot. I know you removed the word secret, but is there a way to maintain that through electronic balloting? Was that of value in the past process?
Michael?
Yes, so the ballots are cast, they're anonymous. And it's implied, so we just removed that language. If it needs to be more explicit, we could indicate that it still remains an anonymous vote. We just identify for each constituency the recipients for the ballot, but as they come in, we can't connect the person who voted with the ballot that was submitted.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Kathy?
I might suggest adding that language in so people are comfortable with that.
So they still know it's secret?
Yes.
Fair enough. Any other comments? All right, so we'll make a note of that. Again, as Michael said, that there is a 30-day notification period as far as any sort of bylaw change. So this is not done as it is. If you go home and you're thinking about it, that maybe this would be a good suggestion, feel free to email me or collegesenate@ecc.edu with any sort of suggestions. This will actually be a little bit more than a 30-day due to the winter break. And we do not have a January College Senate meeting, so this will not actually come to the floor for an official vote until February. All right, thank you, governance. I also want to say thank you to Rosa Gonzalez, who has now joined our governance committee, so thank you for that. And again, to point out, we do have other committees of the Senate that if you feel that you want to participate outside of College Senate, to please let us know. Middle states, Kathy Klesto.
Yes. So hopefully everyone received the email that went out right before our holiday break in November, indicating that we have been removed from warning. So our accreditation was reaffirmed by Middle States, and in that message we thank the entire college community for your contribution to that work whether your hands were in the report or not, you were effective in allowing us to get that work done. So thank you again for that. We also promised that we would give you an update of next steps because our work in higher education is never done. So according to Middle States, we're asked to provide a monitoring report on July 5th, and that should demonstrate the sustainability of our implemented corrective measures and further evidence of demonstrated and documented use of assessment results to improve educational effectiveness. Currently, through the deans and the assessment mentors, we are working with units to work through a series of steps that would be the part of the report moving forward. We do have some concerns. I didn't see Sabrina in the room, so.
She's with Buffalo Public Schools today.
Okay, so I'll speak to her assessment committee if that's okay?
Sure.
She mentioned that we haven't seen any assessment work in Nuventive, added to Nuventive since last spring. So if there's anyone who needs some assistance with any sort of assessment measures that have been being gathered or need help inputting that data into Nuventive for the assessment committee to work through, please let me know. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Did we want to add anything about core values? Will we be discussing that at opening day in January?
So core value discussion, there was a number of folks that volunteered to have core value discussions in their classroom. That information went out last week with the understanding if you can't fit it in by the end of the semester, no worries. We can do it at the start of next semester. I know we all lost a week because of the snowstorm. Opening day is going to be speaking more towards our goal development and metrics that we want to set.
Great, thank you. And we have an accreditation report from Jackie Bossman.
Meeting with academic deans and department heads and faculty, and I'm still looking forward to learning everything I can from these folks. So as always, just email me if you have any questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. So in the fall semester, we were able to get a task force together to begin the work for the faculty handbook task force, and that work started last week, which is a little delayed, again, due to the storm that knocked out about 10 days, if we include the weekend. And Roberta Schiller from our committee is going to give us an update. Thank you.
Hi. Okay. So first of all, the one thing that I want to make clear is that it says faculty handbook, handbook, but it's really not going to be a handbook because we are not charged with changing any policy or creating any policies. So what we're going to be doing is putting together a resource of links where you can go and find the policies, where you can go and find links, for example, to Workday. Apparently, a lot of those links got moved someplace today, so there's been an email out about that, where those new are housed. And again, we're just creating topics, so if you have any links that you know of for forms or anything that you've had difficulty finding, there was a faculty over at South Campus who was trying to look for outlines, and I directed him to Erickson, and he got, back to him immediately. So I took that email and I put it right into our new document. So there's about 8 of us on the committee, and as I said, you could send a link to me, to Mary Ann, to Colleen, if you have any links that you think are important for faculty to have and resources that we need to find information that we need to do our jobs.
Great. Thank you, Roberta. Dr. Sagai?
I just want to, that's awesome that we're doing and taking that approach, because what we don't want to do is duplicate, and that's when we can get ourselves in a situation. So I appreciate that we're taking a very different approach where this is a resource. Part of what you may be experiencing with the website is that we are changing the My ECC, because that is also a concern, right? Because we had duplicate information. There's some information in HR, and then there was some information on the provost account. So I think by doing this is going to be really streamlining where things are versus, trying to mimic our policy and other things. So great job.
Great. Yes, thank you very much. And this group has been awesome getting things together. And, everyone got together last week and we had a document for this, and here's the policies for this. And then we were able to put it all together in a working Google Doc. And we have a Microsoft Teams space now as well, so that the group can work cohesively and really at the same time as they have time to fill it in. So they're on track for an update of the list of resources for our February meeting, and it's going really well so far. So thank you to that group for your really hard work on that. The other committee that we had approved in the fall that was able to meet is the Academic Standards Committee. Per the charge of the committee, they voted to have a chair of the committee, and that chair was voted to be Michael Higgins. So congratulations, Michael Higgins. Did you want to talk about anything from the meeting?
I will say, way to throw me under the bus there.
He wasn't there.
I look forward to working as the lead on this committee, but due to communication and the craziness of this semester, I was unable to be at that meeting. I will send out an email to that committee to make sure we meet before next February's meeting.
But just to be
Thank
clear,
you,
I
Colleen
did talk
Quinn.
to him before the meeting and say, hey, any interest? Erickson.
I'd also like to go on the record in that I also voted in approval of it, and I feel like this is a good full circle because Michael Higgins was instrumental in my work with the General Education Committee, and I was not in that meeting either in which I was nominated. So it's great to see the legacy continue.
That's great. There was a policy for college placement, and I see Dave Uzinski's here. He is the chair of our placement task force of the College Senate and done a lot of work with Erickson and myself. So if, Dave, you want to tell us about the motion that's coming up.
Sure. So in the past, changes were made to college placement due to many reasons, and including COVID. And then it came to our attention that there was actually a Board of Trustees policy that existed from the year 2000 that we had never updated. And upon looking at that policy, it was clearly outdated because it stated every student would be placed by a placement test, and then it would also be used for ability to benefit. The one concern was that if we removed the policy or rescinded the policy, that ability to benefit would be lost, but that is not so. That was a redundancy. It's also talked about in financial aid policies and under SUNY policies. So at any rate, upon investigation, we began to write up a new policy, and then it was brought to our attention that upon doing some research, and this was from Erickson, he did some research and found out that there were no pre-existing Board of Trustees policies on placement at any other community college, or that we could find easily in New York State, and that the only example we had was from a college in Michigan. Because prior to that option of rescinding, I didn't know that was an option. I thought we just had to work with what's there. What's more important about the placement is the procedure, and we're trying to remove procedure from policy at the Board of Trustees level, and so that is going to be our next efforts. We are going to be moving the task force into developing procedures for placement for math, English, and EAL, and that'll be our quite a bit of work in the spring. Erickson, did I leave anything out, or you want to add anything?
No, I think that captures everything. I was also doing some research the other day as well about policy, and I would say this also is further supported by our policy on policy creation, where it really outlines that what we're currently doing is more in alignment with the procedure, and that by rescinding the policy, it doesn't do away with having testing procedures. Those are still in our catalog. It allows us now to be able to move forward with best practices and to be agile with meeting the demands of our students on a more timely basis.
All right, I just want to add, I pulled it up. The original policy was approved in 1987, which someone at the meeting informed us they were not born yet, so cool. Good for you. And then again in 1988, and then in 2000. So This is, so we've been pretty much out of compliance for like 22 years, almost 23. And I was 10, just, you know, if we're going to go be out there. So that's where this went to. One of the concerns that did come up was, well, what do we do with placement? Does this replace placement or anything like that? But those kinds of things go in our catalog, and as a student enters Erie Community College under a certain year, under a certain catalog, that is a binding contract with that student. So anything that is addressed in the catalog, which takes care of placement, is good. Dave?
I forgot to mention that the decision to rescind was not just made by me or Eric. A form was sent out that allowed people to vote for up to 2 weeks to the task force and asking their opinion, and it was 14 yeses and 1 abstain, and that was enough for us to say, okay, most people agree with the idea that we should rescind that policy, or everybody, basically.
Right, and we do have board support for that, because that was the other thing that did come up at the Academic Standards Committee, that if we rescind this board policy, will the board support it? And we did bring this to the board policy committee because we kind of met out of order. So they met, and then Academic Standards met, and now we're meeting, and then the board meets later this week, just because with the storm, et cetera, everything kind of, so we're doing things a little bit backwards, but whatever we decide here today is what will move forward for Thursday for the board meeting. Are there any other questions? Derek?
I just find it curious that we have policies floating out there, date to 1982, and we don't even know about them. Isn't there a standard way of storing them so we can index them and find them and catalog them and you know what I'm saying? Maybe we need to go back and put them in a format where we can wrap our hands around them and understand what we've got.
Dr. Sagai?
So part of what we're going to do within probably maybe academic standard, maybe we might have to do that, especially as it relates to academic policy, is to do a review. I'm not sure when the college did an overview of all policies that we have, right, and what that looks like. So that is part of a task that we're going to do. It's just in terms of how do we want to do that. So academic will do academics, HR will do HR. We have policies that are way outdated that needs to be reviewed. So we will start that process in January.
Great. Kathy?
I just want the team to know there's a log and a tracker that the Board of Trustees keeps. It is very outdated on some of them, so that's what Adia was talking about. But there is a log. We do know what does exist already, and we can work from there. So.
Right, there's a policy tracker that is discussed every board policy meeting, and they do bring up the policy tracker at the board meetings, and I want to say it's somewhere on their website. So again, that'll be one of the things that we'll be pushing out to academic standards to take a look at it, identify all the academic policies, and then of course do a review to see when the last time they were looked at, you know, do they make sense, et cetera. And what's nice is because we did do this research now for this policy, and you know what we are finding out, we are able to rescind policies that make sense. That puts us in a good place moving forward. That if we find that we have things in the college that you know are redundant and unnecessary, we have a process now in place to rescind. Any other questions? Okay, so at this time, I'd like to take a motion to rescind the current 1988-2000 college policy on placement. Dave Uzinski, second. Allison Ford. Questions? Comments? Any objections? Okay, and the motion passes by consent. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the hard work on that. And it was really quite a relief, I want to say. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Dave, but it was nice to not have to write a policy once we were like, wait, we can get rid of this? Excellent. And many other colleges across the state also do not have these policies. So we are now in line with our peers. Erickson, Dr. Nealon's Strategic Enrollment Master Plan.
So at the last meeting, I had presented the SEM plan to the College Senate for an opportunity to receive feedback by November 30th, and a number of you are able to contribute thoughts. And so when I gathered the revisions, I wanted to update Colleen with where we are in the SEM plan. As many of you may know, we were awarded a grant from SUNY and the Lumina Foundation to complete the SEM plan. And that plan is due back to SUNY and our contact there. It's December 21st. I say that because in receiving the feedback from the institution, it doesn't appear that there were a lot of areas of concern around the goals that were identified. But one of the things I really want to, and I believe in the SEM plan as an institution, is it's an actual living document, that we use and that we have available, that people are thinking about, and the different strategies and tactics that we implement. So what I recommended to Colleen, and I wanted to update our college community here, was moving forward with submitting our overall SEM plan, because that's going to contain the overall details to where our goals lie. But then moving into the spring semester through the collaboration of marketing that I want to work with is to develop then the actual playbook for the SEM plan, which is a much more user-friendly version, and to have that come back here to the College Senate for feedback. Because one of the things that I really appreciated was there were a lot of comments about, where does the 7.5-week classes fit in? Where do night classes fit in? Where do all these different things? And these are excellent ideas. And I think the best practice is that this SEM plan in implementation is in fact a reflection of this interdepartment collaboration across the entire school. So with that, I wanted to just formally update the College Senate here that I'll be proceeding on my end with regards to the grants and moving forward with the plan and submitting it. The implementation of it I see as the next phase, and that's where I want to bring it back here to the College Senate for feedback, as well as suggestions of how we implement it at all levels of the institution. As Adim highlighted, retention is a really key area, and it's identified in the SEM plan. It has its own goal, right, of how do we increase our engagement and retention of students. That, to me, is a really great idea to welcome input, innovations that everyone's doing. I want to highlight South Campus, right? And each of the campuses had very strong faculty, staff-driven pop-up registration events. That type of activity, and I've heard great anecdotes from South Campus and just how much participation there was. What can we do to make it where this becomes a fully invested process? I don't have the answers for that. And I think that's where, as a community, we can really come together to build this SEM plan and implement it in a way that's holistic and genuine at the school. So more to be forthcoming here, I would say, in the spring 23 semester.
Awesome, thank you. And then is it possible to supply everyone with a copy of the plan that goes out with the grant?
It, at this point, isn't much different aside from, I would say, some grammatical changes to what was submitted at the end of November. What will be, I think, more valuable and probably meaningful is that draft once I have the eyes and support from marketing to make it a more user-friendly version, and that'll become very soon.
Great, thank you. And I realized I had my magnification only on 100, and I skipped some things. So I bumped it up to 140, and I noticed I missed the grade change policy that we talked about at academic standards. And I also forgot to approve the minutes, so we're going to go back and do that before we do new business. But with our academic standards folks, I'm going to call on Amy, if you don't mind, Amy Yoder, to talk about the grade change policy. So a little background, this grade change policy came to College Senate Exec in May and then came to this body also in May and was approved and then was further approved in June 22 by the board. And there are some suggestions for changes involving administrative drafts, and I'll turn it to Amy. Thank you.
I think when I was here in June, I told everybody I'd be back. So I'm back. We're trying to right a wrong with these edits. As everyone knows, we do administrative drops and late withdrawals. We're not doing it consistently across our 3 campuses. We are not documenting properly, and we're not doing it from an equity lens at all. So what we're trying to do is make this much more consistent, to have this policy language in there, as well as being supported by strong procedure, is the most important aspects of this. This has been vetted by several of our campus offices, as well as financial aid, Bursar's office, as well as legal too. So we're trying to be consistent on what we're doing from a procedure standpoint, but also looking at this, you know, in relation to what Erickson's talking about with the SEM plan, retention is so important with students. So making sure that we have a better understanding of why our students need an administrative drop, why they need a late withdrawal, and what support services we can offer them in that current semester as well as moving forward.
I'm going to scroll down. There's more. This is also posted on the Senate site. We're also not approving this today. This is something that we need to put eyes on. It will come back in February. Anything else? And what's above these definitions are reasons that an administrative drop might be requested, and then the required documentation to justify such a drop. And these are the three types of drops. Just watching. I see people reading, so I don't want to like move the screen around and anything. Does anyone have questions on what's up on the screen right now? Kathy?
The sentence in green, the students enrolled in programs accredited by an external organization, I guess I would ask if that was included in the portion that did go through legal. And if there's any, I know a lot of our health sciences have their own handbooks, and if we've talked about their handbooks, if they are precedent over our policy, I would pose that question maybe to legal before we, if we could, because I just don't know the answer.
It did go to legal, Kathy.
So in the interim, to address the problems, or just the lack of consistency across the three campuses, across different offices, there is, and it's also posted, a temporary procedures and administrative drop late withdrawal appeal document. There's an ad hoc committee, and the procedures are also on the College Senate site, and this is what the college will be doing moving forward until we work out the policy. Questions, comments? Michael?
As you stated before, I was absent for the meeting that I am now chair of. But this is definitely something I would like to bring back to that committee before we come back in February, meet again to talk about this. As I was reading this over, I just want, as I'm reading this over, you know, not just on the screen, but prior to this, as I was, you know, going over the documents you sent out, I want to make sure people realize that this is separate from incomplete grades and change of grades. It's two totally different ideas that I'm reading here, you know, so I want to keep that separate. But one thing I had, academic misadvisement, you know, I'm unsure about just reading that very quickly because I think we're going to get into student complaints more than anything. I got a bad grade, I wasn't supposed to be here. So we got to be careful with that, you know. So, just my two anecdotes really quick.
Yep.
And I think that maybe we might have to define that. So it's really in terms of in workday, was there an error from that perspective? Okay. Right, so I think we should. You're right, though. I think we need to be clear on the definition of what we're putting there, so that it's clear for everyone. And I just want to go back and make a comment about the procedure. Is this it, Colleen? Is this the procedure? Yes. I think it's important that we follow this because part of the issue, and we did talk to our legal to really talk about to make sure that we're consistent and that starting January, this is what we're going to be, practicing, right? So it's critical that all of us, we use this as a way to ensure that we're being consistent. And then also for students who may come back to us a year or 2 years ago and they want to withdraw from a class or do administrative drop, that is still applicable to this process as well. So we just want to be very consistent starting January. Dave?
So I had a question. This came up actually in the spring semester, so it's a little anecdotal, but could happen. A student proved that, or had some documentation showing that they had some type of medical emergency for withdrawing from a class. But it was one class and not the other classes in that semester. But it was done after withdrawal date, but before we had to submit grades. So a professor, when putting the grades in, realized that the student's name wasn't there and asked why. And that person was granted that late withdrawal based on that evidence. But what the student failed to tell the dean was that the reason the student was failing that course was not because of the medical emergency, what was because the student had actually been caught cheating and then was using the medical emergency as an excuse to get a withdrawal grade instead of an F. And had that happened after the semester was over, the professor would have never known or been aware that that student was granted that late withdrawal. Upon actually asking or intervening, the professor was able to get the student's grade changed back to an F. So my concern is, if we're granting late withdrawals for students, should it be semester, like, when they do a fresh start, it's all or none? Is that something that would be under consideration? Or if we are doing it piecemeal, that the professor who was teaching that class would be contacted prior to that change being made?
Great. Thank you, Dave. Amy?
Dave, this is why we're here. Exactly why you're saying this. Again, not consistent. There has not been enough documentation collected for rationale why we've conducted things the way we've done. This is why we formed the committee, so that documentation is put in place and that there is outreach to faculty if need be. Going back to what Mike Higgins said with the advisement issues, again, that's why we're putting it in there. It's not a complaint process. This is not a complaint process whatsoever. This is very clearly a student was misadvised, be it from the system, be it from incorrect information that was given, but well documented, and that person who they worked with is also consulted. So this is why we're doing this, so that we can stay consistent and move forward in the right way, supporting not only the institution, but also the student too. They have to learn.
Right, so just at the bottom, after the different reasons, the committee, the ad hoc committee that's listed at the top of the procedure, which will have faculty representation, but the committee will be reviewing a student request and render a decision. And again, so currently this is the makeup of the ad hoc committee, but I don't know if it's not on the ground yet.
It is.
Oh, it is?
Yes. Yes, in fact, we've been learning a lot. I've been doing this a long time, so I'm used to this, but I'm sure some of the new members, look at Erickson, he's shaking his head over there. He's one of the members of the committee. I'm sure they've had an eye-opening experience with what this is and how time-consuming it is, but to do it the right way, that's what's going to happen.
Great. May I ask who the counselor and the faculty rep is?
Sure. Jackie DePaul is on it. We also have Aaron Garman.
Awesome. Because I know I'm going to get asked this later, so now I have the answer. Thank you. Any other questions or comments about the policy change that's going to be coming up or the procedures that are currently going to go into effect for moving forward? All right, so this is another one. We're not voting on it today. Kind of read it over, think about it. Academic Standards will be meeting before the February meeting, and it'll come to College Senate Executive Team before it comes to the February College Senate meeting. So reach out to myself, Michael Higgins, Amy Yoder, and let us know, and you'll see this again.
I'll be back.
Awesome. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, Amy. Before I call on Erica, we're going to go back and do the other thing I forgot because I didn't have my screen enlarged, and that is the minutes from the November meeting. So the minutes are posted. Thank you, Mary. Are there any questions, any additions, or any changes to the minutes? All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from November? Amy, second. Allison, objections? And they pass by consent. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mary and Erica, for letting me know. I'm pulling it up. So I'm going to put Erica up. So in line with what Dr. Sagai mentioned earlier, as far as recognizing our students, but we also want to recognize our faculty and staff, and the Chancellor Awards are coming up, and it's a great opportunity for you to do so.
Does anybody remember, pop quiz, the date I need Chancellor's Award nominations by? I love your faces. Friday, January 27th by close of business. It's at the end of this. This is posted on the Senate site. Please ignore the fact it says 2021. It was the one thing I didn't change because I was panicking about getting the right dates on there. So there's 3 categories for this Chancellor's Award. We've got librarianship. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a big fat liar. There's 4 categories. There's a librarianship, excellence in professional service, excellence in scholarship and creative activities, and excellence in teaching. So we've got 4 big awards that are due by the end of January. And I'm going to remind you guys, we don't submit it to SUNY until the middle to late, like I want to say around February 20th. But the reason Jackie and I need it by the end of January is that it is a very lengthy process. We have to put together a committee. Like, I'm not going to know how to judge excellence in librarianship. I have a rough estimate, but I couldn't do it. So we've got to get the right people together to just put eyes on it, to go over it. So what Jackie and I are doing in that time when we get those nomination packets is just kind of checking off a checklist of things, making sure all the criteria are met, and then we form the teams as needed depending on which categories get nominated. So it's a lengthy process. We've got to get several sets of signatures, and then we submit it electronically by February 20th to SUNY. So just kind of keep that in mind. Librarianship looks like it has 3. Oh, look, I deleted some stuff. This is what happens at the end of the semester, you guys. Like, I get interrupted with emails and my brain just out. So there's skill in librarianship, there's service to the university or the college in our sense, and to the profession, and then there's scholarship and continuing professional growth. So those are pretty much the 3 main things. I will fix this and repost it to the Senate site with the stuff I deleted out, and that way Colleen can send it out. So you guys have it kind of like as a cheat sheet, so you don't have to go through the big Chancellor's Award mega booklet and feel like you can't find what you need if you really want to nominate someone. And then excellence in professional service. Nominees for the award must be individuals who have repeatedly sought improvement of themselves, their campuses, and ultimately the state university, and in doing so have transcended the normal definitions of excellence. Wow, that's pretty impressive. And there are several criteria for this. I think this is 2 slides worth. No, it's only 1. There's just a lot of words. Candidate must perform superbly in fulfilling the job description. Candidate should also demonstrate excellence in professional activities beyond the parameters of the job description. So we're really looking for people who have gone above and beyond significantly in the past. It doesn't have to be in the past year. Maybe they have a track record of doing this repeatedly, and this is our opportunity to really highlight them.
And I'm going to jump in and just it's for all position levels, everything across the college, right? Everyone.
So excellence in scholarship and creative activities, that's for those of our colleagues specifically who are either working creative artists or are publishing in scholarly journals or doing work in that sense. One of the advantages to working at a community college, of course, is that we don't have the pressure of being involved in scholarship, but we do know that we have colleagues who really love doing that work. And so if you know of somebody who excels in that, who has significant experience, maybe they're doing some really great cutting edge work that we haven't been able to take advantage of yet, this would be a great opportunity to highlight them and bring them to SUNY's attention and to our attention. Excellence in teaching, I think that's pretty straightforward, right? It's for our colleagues who are really amazing at the craft of teaching, at engaging students, at retaining students. This is the one that Dave won last year.
There he is.
So I just, again, bring that to your attention. One of the things I love best about the Chancellor's Award, even though there's so many of them, we really kind of get to highlight where our faculty or where our colleagues are excelling. Please do not take this as a challenge. You must submit one person for every category. Okay, we don't have to do that. If we could, that would be amazing. Like, I'd be dancing for an entire month. But I also feel like that's a lot of pressure as well. So kick it around in your departments, get some feedback from your colleagues, talk to people, because even if there's somebody you want to nominate and you don't want to do it this year, you can always nominate them next year. This comes around every year. And there it is, Friday, January 27th at the close of business.
Kathy?
A couple years ago, I think I worked on a team with Ethel for Mary Graham. Mm-hmm. And there was like a amount of people that could be nominated or sent from the college. Do you know what that number is?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
27. No, I have no idea.
No, that's Jackie?
Jackie?
We could probably find that out, but I'm curious. I think my follow-up question is was that number established by the college or was that established by SUNY? Okay, then we can find it out.
Mm-hmm. It's probably buried in that ginormous honkin' manual they give us.
Buried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say I actually knew that answer at one point in time, but it's gone. It might be 4 or 5 per category or total. Yeah.
This is also the problem of only doing it once a year, is we burn through to get it done and then we just ignore, it's out of your head.
So we will find that out, but that also doesn't mean that we can only take one nomination per category. It'd be nice to, get 3 or 4 in a category and then really be able to go through it. And then again, just because one may not move forward, that doesn't mean that they can't be nominated again. Oh, Stephanie. I'm like, Stephanie's right there too. She won one too. Yeah. We got lots of Chancellor Award winners in the room. And you guys are sitting near each other. It's like a magnet. Oh, so that's the Chancellor Award winning section from now on, moving forward. All right, so new business. Erickson, spring registration.
Yeah, so spring registration is certainly well underway, and as I mentioned before, very appreciative of the efforts that each of the campuses have done with regards to helping to advise students, to register students. Shout out to Andy and his team for also getting the schedule out on time and in a manner as best as possible to help students to register. At this time, we are trending towards our enrollment goal that we had established a few months ago. Right now, based on how many students we have here for the fall and where we are for the spring, we're at about 40%. I think our goal for the end of the week is around 45%. So looking forward to then the next few days in terms of how we are trending. Our applications for the spring are trending very favorably. At this point in time, we have about 100 more applications at this point in time than at the end of the week 2 years ago. and very similar to where we were for the spring 2020 semester, which for all intents and purposes, that would have been pre-pandemic numbers in terms of application, right? Because everything shut down in March of 2020. So we're really looking then at the fall 2019 numbers at that point in time. So that's very favorable. But I think back to what Adim said, is it's so important right now that when we have our students here for the next 2 weeks, what can we do to engage them, work with them at whatever capacity possible to get them registered. That is key, and we are seeing the same trends at other schools across the country, that if we can keep them here, that's going to have a big impact for then our spring 23 semester enrollment.
Great, thank you. With the spring registration, I want to give a shout out to our South Campus. Some of our South Campus folks had a registration event last week over 2 days. Again, we had to move the dates because of the storm. It just keeps coming up, doesn't it? But we had some really good numbers with that. We also have open registration coming up, which is another, you can point it out to your students that if they can't register now, they can always come in then. And, I want to encourage departments to try to make sure that all of the time slots are covered, especially with our general studies folks, because, if students are waiting, it's a possibility that our students won't get serviced, and, it takes a village. So, try to please work together with that. With your advisees, I want to just really quickly point out something, and I'm going to send this out. There we go. Let's see. If you go to Workday, let's see if it's going to kick me out. If it's going to kick me out, I might not be able to show this. Oh, it's thinking. There we go. Let me find anyway, you go to your advisees. And there they are. You can, come on, go. Go. Up here at the top, this little thing with the X, it says export to Excel. Hit it, download it, and you have an Excel sheet. And then across the Excel sheet is email addresses, right? So you just biff over there, email. Oh, I just biffed right by it, right? Here it is. Left click, all the way down. Right click, hit copy, and paste it right into your email, and boom, you can email all of your advisees. Crazy easy, and that I've done it once a week. That's how I've had my students actually reach out to me, like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, that's right, you're my advisor. So please, it's very easy, and you never know, maybe we'll get back to you January 2nd or 3rd. Brian Millville?
Yeah, in the same spreadsheet you go over, there's a column that shows how many credits they're registered in for in spring 22, also very useful.
Thank you, Brian. That's right, all the way over. So, of course, my top 3 aren't registered, but I have emailed them a lot. They're probably graduating. Ashley?
I have a question. I have a student who is now in criminal justice, and I'm still listed as his advisor for general studies and natural science. So who can I contact for him to be updated to a new criminal justice advisor?
Andy?
I think that's me.
I think it is.
So just for everybody's awareness, the general studies students, that population is assigned in a manual fashion. So as the student enters the college, we have to assign them manually, and that decision was made so that we could sort of group students in health science or interest in health science programs to faculty that teach in the sciences. The downside to that is that if a student changes their program into a program that would typically be automatically assigned an advisor, that manual assignment stays in place. So it is a challenge for us as an institution. We can make the change. I guess just reach out to me and I can assist.
Right. I think that's your best bet, is to reach out directly to the registrar's office, because I know as a faculty member, as an advisor, I don't have the rights on my workday screen, like what I'm allowed to do that kind of change. Michael?
I have a question about the advisee list, cohort list per faculty in general. I remember sending out emails to my advisees, and then at some point during the semester, I could get that email back up. At some point in the semester, my advisee list changed. When was that list updated? Because, I didn't know that I had new advisees until I went back in.
Right.
So there could be a few different reasons for that. Probably the most prevalent is if a student doesn't have a campus code listed, and periodically throughout the term we do a review of students that are missing a campus location or perhaps are assigned a campus location and a program where it doesn't exist. So for example, students North Campus, but they're in an automotive program. So when we see that, we go through the list, we determine where the campus should be assigned to the student, and when we make that location change, it automatically changes the advisor assignment to reflect that.
That might be something we might want to put in our process, that to check at some specific date during the semester to recheck advisor lists because of possible changes. Kathy?
I just want to say that that process is really important for our reporting. So the work that Andy's team does to identify the campus gets sent to NYSED for our campus, each campus utilization by students. So that work is very important.
Great. Any other questions about spring registration? Joe Lundeen.
Just a comment. When you're emailing a group of students like that, we always recommend putting them in the blind carbon copy field. So if one replies, not everyone sees it. So just putting your email address in the to field and the rest in the blind carbon copy. Yeah.
Thank you. Roberta? You got to use the microphone. I'm laughing. I'm sorry.
I just had a question. A while back, the Brightspace email they said was not working very well. Did that ever get fixed? If we wanted to send an email through Brightspace, are we assured the students are getting those emails?
Pat Ryan's here, and he can answer that.
Brightspace emails go to Brightspace. They have to go into Brightspace to read it. They may get, depending on their notification settings, they may get a notification in their email saying that they have an email and it might have the body of it, but Brightspace emails are internal. They're not an email system. They have to go to Brightspace to read those.
Right, and they have to reply through Brightspace, which goes for everyone else if you want to reply to a Brightspace message from students. Michael Higgins?
I don't think that was Roberta's question, not to throw anybody under the bus. I could show you my computer at the beginning of the semester. I sent an email to a student. They could show me their Brightspace. They have no email from me, and vice versa.
What's the ticket number?
No, at the beginning of the semester, Brightspace emails were not going back and forth.
Yes.
In Brightspace. I'm not worried about ECC Outlook. Brightspace emails were not going back and forth from teacher to student.
As far as I'm aware, the functionality is working now.
Yes. That was Roberta's question. Was it fixed?
Okay, we don't get a whole lot of information from SUNY when things get changed or set up. I don't have a log record, but as far as I know, things are working. The only way I know things aren't working is if we open help desk tickets.
Fair. I sent some emails and they worked in Brightspace.
Correction, service desk tickets. Sorry.
Yeah, I sent emails, today's Tuesday, yesterday, and they went to students and students responded. So I'm going to go with it's working based on that sample set. All right, graduation. I told Dan Fertera he did not have to be here, and Amy Yoder volunteered to be here on his behalf because we're all on the committee together. And I forgot to write anything down, so Amy's on the hook.
There you go. I'm back again. So big news. Mark it down, write it down, put it in your calendars right now. Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, at 6 p.m. at Buffalo State Athletic Center is when we will celebrate our students' accomplishments. And we get to have fun with them. That is the point, right? That's why we're here. I always tell people, as frustrated as I get at work, because we all do, let's be honest, we love what we do. This really is a fun career to have, and we're lucky to watch hopes and dreams come true in our students. So this is the opportunity to see that. And as we move forward with this, we want to make this much more student and academic focused. You all, especially in our academic departments, have such amazing connections with students, and we want to celebrate that more. So this is part of the focus as we move forward with commencement. The emphasis on academic excellence. We need to honor students, right? We have some amazing students that have accomplished some great things, and we want them highlighted during the ceremony. Service learning accomplishments as well of our students. Marketing has revamped our webpage. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. It was not very celebration-like. We're making it celebration-like now. We have many faculty members who have now volunteered to be on the committee and help us with the engagement of our students. Last year, I know I walked away from commencement looking at that ice rink where the students lined up and went, "Where's the party?" We got to do that more. It's going to be very, very, very exciting. So if anybody's interested in contributing, helping, taking part in it, please don't hesitate to contact myself or Dan Frontera, who's the chair of commencement. We are open to ideas. We have money to spend, which never happens, right? We want to do this, and we want to do it right. While I'm up here,
yes,
our Oasis app, our emotional help app that we've launched for students. I am so thrilled to announce that we've had 1,400 students sign on to that app.
Wow.
The top daily mood checks are for tired and stress. And the top self-care topics that our students, not nationwide, but our students, are academic performance and communication. So they're identifying they're tired, they're stressed, but they want to do better. And this is good, this is good, this is positive. So if you need material about Oasis that you want to push out to your students, please do not hesitate. Contact Dan or I, or you can email erieconnects@ecc.edu. We can come in, we can do presentations, whatever you need. We want to support our students.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And I want to highlight the one thing she did mention is that the time for graduation is at 6 p.m., which is a change. It's always been at 7 p.m. 6 p.m. is fantastic because as a faculty member that I've gone, whatever, we go out afterwards and celebrate as well, right? But everything's closed if the ceremony starts at 7. So that's just us, but what about the students and what about the families? And what if they want to go out for snacks and things like that with their family and we don't get out till 9:30 and there's nowhere to go, right? So that's really nice change. And we're going to be doing all sorts of exciting things. And it's a great committee. So if you want to join it, Jackie's on it too, and me. It's a party. But it'll be really exciting this year. So I really look forward to it. Any sort of updates, we're going to keep the Senate informed. We really want to get a big faculty turnout, especially last year was our first one after COVID. And now that we're really back into the norm of doing school and the business of school and everything, I'd like to see a large group out there if possible. Our favorite part of the agenda, for the good of the order. Does anyone have anything they would like to ask or mention or have me find someone to research it? Or maybe I might know the answer. Or maybe Erica might. Erica would like to know if she can make up an answer. Absolutely. Well, all right. So it is 3:40. It's the end of the semester. It's sunny outside, freezing, but sunny. And get out there and enjoy your drive home before it is pitch black outside. Enjoy the end of your semester. I know it is stressful, but we're almost there. And you can do it, your students can do it, and let's get them registered before the end of next week. Because again, as it was pointed out, easiest way to keep them is to make sure they got a schedule for the spring before we lose them. Have a great end of the semester, everybody. Take care.